Hi there, Rob. I posted something on our Instagram and TikTok channel this morning in relation to the Women's Six Nations and the fact that there is still a zero prize pot
Mm.
for the Women's Six Nations. And I know that that's a subject that divides opinion, and there are those who will say that that would merely serve to widen the inequality between the likes of England and the rest. But what's your view, and what could rugby be doing proactively to ensure that there is a returning of competitive balance?
Well, I'll let you into a secret, Rich. I didn't know that there was no prize money for the Women's Six Nations until I watched your. I think I saw it on Instagram actually, rather than TikTok, because I'm still not on there. When I looked it up and started to do some research on it, you are absolutely correct. There is no prize money on offer, and the fact that there is no prize money on offer is justified by the organisers at least, and I think one of the previous CEOs spoke about it a couple of years ago, is there are nations that are running away with competition. So in our case, England currently is the most dominant force in the Women's Six Nations. They are at least semi-pro, if not pro, at some clubs. And what's happening actually is the gap is widening between the teams like England and those competing nations underneath. And you would include countries like Wales, who have got a huge history in rugby, as you know. And actually, the argument goes that if you put prize money on the table, then those bigger nations will get further and further away. And what you should really be doing is trying to put things in and make interventions that will help competitive balance. So you strengthen those more emergent nations. So if it was me and you said to me, as you might do in a minute, well, go on then, Rob, what's the solution? I think you need to follow a bit more of an American model with it and start unequally distributing prize money that you generate from your headline sponsors. And what I mean by that is the team that finishes bottom of the Women's Six Nations derives a higher share of that prize fund than the team that finishes top. But it's perhaps restricted or ring fenced for development in the game and essentially kind of grassroots through into the developing academy system so that over time you can strengthen the outcomes of the competition. It can become more competitive and therefore more lucrative financially for everybody.
Yeah, I was going to say to you, if there is that model implemented, is it important that some of those funds are mandated? So you're focusing on youth development so that the next generation of players, just so the quality of the competition continues to go up and up and up. Which, to be fair, we've seen
Mm.
over the last few years. But you do need those young players coming through and those development programs in place, don't you?
Yeah, you do. It's a tough sell of it because the women that are currently playing are at the vanguard of their sport, the same as they are in Netball Super League, which I hope we'll speak about on another one of these, or women's football. But the reality is that all of those women that are playing at the vanguard of the sport have got a responsibility to try and promote the sport over the next 10, 15, 20 years. And because of the way society has been over the last 100 years, women's sport as a professional entity is much newer by comparison. So you're kind of trying to accelerate 100 years of historical development in, let's say, a decade to generate those prize funds, generate those crowd attendances, generate the sponsorships, the TV endorsement rights, and so on and so forth. But you do that by developing your pipeline of talent, not spending it all on the talent that's currently playing. Might not go down so well with those women that are playing at the elite end right now. But the reality is, if we want to see strong, financially sustainable women's sport over the next 10 years, that's what has to happen, in my view, anyway.
Yeah, and I think probably we saw this weekend. I mean, England would probably have expected to have got a more handsome victory over Italy.
Mm.
France and Ireland was relatively close, as was Scotland and Wales. So there are signs, hopefully, that there is the Six Nations is becoming more competitive and not just a runaway exercise for the Red Roses.
Yeah, agreed. The club game's got a lot to do as well because Gloucester Hartpury, of course, pretty competitive in that particular field. So it's at all levels we need to improve competitive integrity and balance, and ultimately competitive balance drives revenue. Rich.